Now, do you know what companion planting is? Now, I know what you're thinking, but it's actually not the next dating site for plants.
What?
We're actually learning about it today.
That's ridiculous.
You know, like Farmers Only or something.
I didn't even think about it. Also, listen, if you just can't get that green thumb, well, the Pima County Master Gardeners have a fall plant sale where you can just leave the growing to the professionals. Joyce Nill has all the information for us. Joyce, thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for inviting me.
I have to tell you, this companion planting thing sounds like something I probably need.
Yes.
Because we do okay on some things, but other things we just have no idea what we're doing. So tell us what the companion planting is.
Companion planting is when you take two different types of plants and you plant them close by each other in either your flower bed or your vegetable garden. And you're doing this for a very beneficial reason. It can be because the two plants share the same fertilizing schedule. They might share the same watering schedule, because like onions don't want a lot of water, but there's other vegetables that really like a lot of water. You might plant a real tall vegetable next to a short plant, and that tall plant is going to shade the small plant because it can't take direct sun. You might need to attract pollinators, so you take one plant that's going to attract the pollinators and you put that next to one that really needs the pollinators. There's plants that repel insects, all sorts of different reasons.
Well, and you're kind of mentioning insects a little bit here. And I was reading up on companion planting before you came, because I didn't want to seem completely like I didn't know what I was talking about. But I originally thought you just didn't want insects at all for any kind of a plant, but that's actually not true, right?
It's not true. You actually do want insects in your garden, because some insects are pollinators, but other ones you have to think of as pest hunters. So you attract certain insects to your flowers or your vegetables, and they'll actually eat bad insects. But yes, and a good example is a plant like an alyssum, which is a real low-growing annual plant. If you put that under your roses, it will attract predators that will eat things like aphids and thrips and scale insects. So that's a really good companion plant, but it attracts insects.
Interesting. What about ladybugs? I'm just curious.
Everybody likes ladybugs.
They're so sweet.
Yes.
And I see that they're sold at the nurseries sometimes.
Sometimes, and there is a great company that's up in Catalina that actually will do mail order of ladybugs. And yes, you do want ladybugs because they do eat what would be considered bad insects out of your vegetable garden.
Wow.
Well, and there we go. We have a picture of ladybugs. Now, you brought some plants here. Now, when we're talking about companion planting, is most of it the knowledge of what goes together, or
Yes,
is it the actual planting part also?
It is what goes together. So I brought some examples because a lot of people cannot envision companion planting, and we're having this class coming up in October that's open to the public, and people don't know what companion planting is, so we thought we would show some examples. So the first one is the basil plant down there, and that would be a good plant to plant with cauliflower, because that basil will repel aphids. And a lot of people will take a basil plant and they'll plant it in flower pots on their patio because it actually repels mosquitoes.
Oh, good.
Isn't this interesting? Don't you?
That.
And there's all different kinds of basil, so all different scents. And then I have seeds over there, and petunias are great for fall because they'll start blooming now and they'll bloom all the way through late spring. Petunias actually repel aphids. So if you planted your petunias next to your broccoli, it would repel the aphids off that. And then we have carrots and lettuce. And this is another theory of companion planting. The carrots are kind of fat roots to them, so they'll break up the soil. They're slow growing. So you will have harvested your lettuce before your carrots really get growing. And this plant in front of you smells yummy. It is actually a mint. And if you plant mint next to cabbage, it's going to deter moths. And a lot of people don't realize this, but if you take a mint, mint has a bad rap. It takes over a garden, so people don't want to plant it. But if you would just cut off the bottom of this pot, sink it into your soil, the roots will stay contained and it won't spread throughout your flower bed or your vegetable garden. So mint is actually a really good plant to have. Lavender, this is a lavender. It smells yummy, but lavender is really nice, and if you plant that next to Swiss chard, it will also repel aphids. It's another one to put on your patio and flower pots. It repels mosquitoes.
We're getting a lot of tips on that.
Strawberries, you can plant that with lettuce and marigolds. Here's an example of using the same fertilizer and watering requirements.
For those.
This is society garlic. Isn't that pretty? It's
gorgeous.
a flower. It's a perennial, society garlic. And that will repel aphids on roses. And you can use society garlic. You can use green onions. It's a really good choice. Peas actually harbor nitrogen in its roots. So if you plant peas, plant it next to like radishes or spinach, which will benefit from all that nitrogen. And then the last one, the pretty yellow flowers on the floor there, that's Coreopsis. It's a perennial here in town. If you plant, and that's a natural insect repellent, so plant that next to a pomegranate. That's a pomegranate tree. If you plant that nearby, it will repel the white flies that might be on your pomegranate tree.
Well, that was a lot of information. For different reasons, they should go next to one another.
All different reasons.
But Joyce, let's just be honest. If we just could not get this together and we just want you guys to plant it, we want something beautiful just to take home. You guys have that sale that's coming up.
We have a sale.
Some of these also be some of the items that you'll be selling?
All of the potted plants you see here, I pulled from the over 2,800 plants that we're going to be offering for sale on October 10th. So yes, and we have different varieties of basil, different varieties of lavender, so all sorts of things.
So
Something for everybody.
So we have the classes, and then of course we have the sale coming up. I know you still do the tours. There's so much that you guys do, and
we do.
We're going to make sure everyone goes to the website and signs up for those. And we learned so much here. I know the classes probably go way more in depth.
You know, there's only a $10 charge, but Master Gardener Deb North is going to conduct that class, and she's like a rock star. She has a following. People sign up for her classes all the time, but her class is really geared towards either a beginner or an experienced gardener like yourself.
Oh,
there you
I'll
go.
be at the beginner class.
No, you would really enjoy it. It would be
It
great.
sounds amazing. I learned so much just you coming on the show, so thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank
You're
you, Joyce.
welcome.
I love when you come. And there is a list of their classes and events on your screen right now. Take a look. For more information, you can call 626-5161 or log on to extension.arizona.edu.